as well.
Set a time
It
limit.
would probably be a good idea.
It's probably a good idea.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. I do want to respond real quick to that. I currently employ somebody who left the co-op on good terms, and we in fact worked together on structuring her phase out because she didn't want to leave the co-op in a lurch. And so I think there have been some
There
people.
have been a
So I,
few,
you know,
but there've been a lot that have been weird.
and I also just want
Did you
to,
respond to comments? Sorry.
I'm sorry.
well, if,
It's not,
maybe
there's
not
comment
necessary.
Q&A, yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, did Kathy decide to step down from the board before or after she was terminated? Kathy?
I was in the process of finding out what the worker owners wanted to do, because I felt that I had overextended myself and I couldn't keep up with the work. So I was in the process of asking them who they would like to be as a replacement, and once we had decided that, I was gonna announce to the board. I think that happened before. It was happening, the week that I was terminated, and when I was terminated, it became a 8 point.
But you had expressed your interest in doing that
Yes.
prior to, yeah. Can we please explain the structure? Please refer to the bylaws. Oh, that's me, on behalf of a member comment that was made. Because there was, and I also want to say on this, I think that the member orientation that Katie's working on is important for everyone because we've come into this without everyone being on the same page of how it's supposed to work according to how it was formed. And I think if everyone had a little bit better understanding of that, we might be a little bit able to communicate a little bit more on the same page, just with what assumptions are and how the structure is actually supposed to work. But yeah, could a board member explain that real quick? The structure of the co-op?
There's several
Real
ways
quick,
to
real
approach
quick
that,
now.
but I think just the most basic one is there's 3 classes of membership. There's what are termed consumer members, which is most of the membership. There are producer members, which are the people who supply us with the products we sell. And then there's the worker owner members who work in the store. Okay? Each class elects members to the board. The worker owners elect a person to represent them on the board. The producers elect someone to represent them on the board. The rest of the general membership elects the remaining seats. The board term is for 2 years, except for the worker owner is 1 year. And go ahead.
All those 3 classes of members, turning the articles, have 1 vote for the board of directors.
They each have 1 seat,
Yeah.
and then they all vote for the at-large seat.
Oh, right. Okay. I see your point.
And I think maybe also a little explanation of who has authority over who, like that the board has
The board is tasked with being the,
directing the general manager.
yeah, like making business decisions and overseeing the interests of all the memberships. That's time enough. And then, that's time enough.
Well, we're responding to
That's
your
pretty
answer.
much all, right?
Oh, okay. Well, does anyone want to hear the rest of the structure?
Let me just say, what's up on the screen is on the website. The Articles of Incorporation, the bylaws, they're on the website. It's under the About link.
It's nice to hear like a condensed version, because
Yeah. I mean, I've given this spiel probably 1,000 times, probably to almost every single person that signed up and became an investor too. So if I can just give that really quick, each membership elects a representative to be on the board. Then there's at-large seats, at least 2 at-large seats. So there's at least 5 members on the board, it can be up to 7. The board of directors is tasked with overseeing and like steering the ship kind of the entire thing. But it's a governance policy board. They set policies and they hire a general manager to enact their policies. The general manager is obviously then tasked with hiring the staff. So where there's a lot of weird nuances that we have been trying to figure out for a long time is if the general manager hires the staff, but then that staff becomes worker owners, how does that work out? And I think that that's like at the heart of a lot of these discussions is still trying to flesh that out. The bylaws set it up legally the one way that I just said, and then there's a lot of nuances within there that are subject to interpretation.
Okay.
Do employees fill out W-2s and
tax forms and the employment of citizens co-op?
Okay, so next question, is the recent newsletter had nothing of community building events, art walk, participation, music, potlucks, etc. How many would like to see more, how many members would like to see more social activities? Raise your hand. Okay, hi, you're invited to join the board or the membership outreach committee, or the event planning committee. The questions I'm sure many will ask. Why so much staff turnover? Who oversees how staff are treated? Is there a grievance procedure? And do the bylaws allow for severing employment without cause and or advance notice? And we can probably reply to these in real detail because the person provided their email address, but do we want to address one at a time?
I think
Yeah.
Okay. It was brought up, I think, by Emily that on May 1st there was a retreat, which was the beginning of a worker owner handbook. And basically, we were told that there was a draft of that, but we were never submitted a final document for our approval.
And we asked every,
And we asked every single meeting, so that's quite some time. And, you know, understandably, we're all very busy people, and I can understand how things fall through the cracks, but that is a fact. There is no approved manual because it's never been submitted. Well, okay.
The employment, the general employment.
Whatever was supposed to result from the May 1st retreat has never been approved.
Yeah, why so much staff turnover? That's the first question. Some people have left voluntarily, some people have left involuntarily. Staff turnover, why so much staff turnover?
well, so much is a,
I think that's probably a really hard question to answer.
Your best guess.
But I would say from what I've experienced myself being in the midst of all of it, is that because we haven't had a clear structure in place, and define the worker owners and define policies, and we've had a general manager come in and then leave, and then an interim general manager come in, and then a final one be hired. It's really, I think because of all of that, there's actually just been so much unknowns for everyone that it's so hard to then evaluate people when the general manager has only been there for a few months, right? So I would just say that I actually think that the not having a long-term general manager and not having a long-term structure that stayed in place for a long period of time, and not having the worker owner handbook and policies written out and signed by everyone has led to just a lot of confusion all over the place. Like, there's been no pattern in the store. That's my opinion. I don't know.
Right, but there can't really be an official
That's
response.
time.
Anyone else want to respond?
Yeah, I'm just coming in.
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay, all right, so you guys want to move on to the next question?
You could also take these,
Well-
and answer them in an email and send it out to the membership if you don't wanna go through every.
Well, that is the
all
purpose
these are
of
really
these,
detailed.
that's the purpose of, they're not all real details. Some of them
A
are.
lot of them are pretty long.
Well, okay, so I mean, there's various opinions on that. I do think that hearing from the general manager briefly would be important. Would anyone else like to hear
Yes.
from this person very briefly?
Wants to move on? That's right, cool.
Can you make it brief?
Yes.
I can make, excuse me, I have a point of order. Excuse me, I run meetings like this. You're the timekeeper. The less you talk, the better off. You need to say when the time is up. That's your responsibility. If you want to say something else, write it on a piece of paper, put it in there.
As a member, I'm helping facilitate and be
No,
part
you're
of
not
all
helping
this.
to facilitate, you're the timekeeper, aren't you?
I mean, if you want to make this about me and
I can
waste our
help
time,
facilitate.
that's fine. I'm just trying to keep
I'm just
everybody.
saying, why don't you not interrupt someone who keep time?
Well, I just
Well,
announced
to the
time.
board.
announcing that
I
the
just
time's up.
announced.
And do we wanna
time.
keep going? That's what she
But
said.
that's not your job. Amy's facilitating the meeting. Amy should ask if we want to move on, not me.
But Amy wasn't asking.
I
That's,
did just
that's
that.
fine, that's up to her. Sorry.
Okay, so again, really briefly.
So coming to the co-op, I've noticed that there really aren't any training manuals. There's really no clear job descriptions, no clear policies, no clear procedures, and not a lot of communication amongst the worker owners even, and a lot of confusion. And in my experience, that lends to a lot of issues and a lot of frustrations. And so that's one of my intentions and one of my first areas of wanting to address is to bring more organization and bring more structure and communicating, asking lots of questions to the worker owners about what their jobs are, what they do, and trying to formulate job descriptions. I started creating training binder, with the informative help of the worker owners, and I've been in the process of creating, policies regarding, one thing that I've been in the process of working on is, every 6 months, evaluations for all worker owners, and at the 6-month point, here's some goals to work towards, and then at, the next 6 months, then we can look at those goals and look at, and talk about, whether or not, where you are, and if there's money in our budget to give raises yearly, based on performance. So, and that's just my perspective, is when there's not clearly defined expectations, goals, there's a lot of confusion and frustration.
Okay, so I want to just say the other 2 questions on this card I think are appropriate to respond to by email because we can cite whatever we have. It's about grievance procedure and what the bylaws allow in terms of severing employment. It would just take a long time to respond to right now, so we will respond to those via email. Why, when discounts are advertised in the store, that we do not get the discount at the cash register?
I think I can try to answer that. As of recently, we have set up a system that all the members receive a designated letter, and that letter is coordinated with each of the items that are on sale. It was my understanding that when I was setting this up recently, and this is my first time doing this, I skipped over the kombuchas, the classic kombuchas, and well, not the maiden's kombucha, but this is a new process that I've just set out. I am trying to tweak it, and we have had issues with our point of sale system in figuring out the most coherent way to apply sales. Terribly sorry about the inconvenience. I know that we have to go back and apply a lot of credit to accounts. We miss those things, and we, God bless you for your patience. I don't know if I've answered that question thoroughly.
One more point I want to make, because I know about this, but changing the member class, like Ryan was talking about, has to be done individually for each member, and there's about like 1,800 right now. So I got at least 400 done, but it's in their hands now.
Yeah, we ended up being able to switch over the classification of all the members, but we also have to make sure that it is applied to every single item that is on sale. So it's quite a few things.
So the next question is, how will you move forward towards recognizing the workers' union? Do we have next steps? I think we had talked about making some kind of a committee to figure out like exactly what we need to do. Wasn't that, we talked about that briefly?
Yes.
But we can formally do that, I think, at some
I
point.
actually have proposed a committee of Lucian as chair, myself as secretary, Steve as